Presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hey, we got a lot of work today, okay? This is when it should suck. Life should suck in training camp.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
Every day I'm hustling.
I think just for the young guys, it's the mental. You know, how much can they retain from the last time we were together in June to now? And then the vets just kind of picking up, you know, where they sort of where they left off and you know, maybe knocking a little rust off and getting back into it.
Looks, fires, deep downfield, got a man. That's Christian Kirk along the left sideline. Touchdown, Jacksonville! A 29-yard touchdown pass.
Man rush, throws downfield, looking for Thomas again. He's got it, and LSU strikes back quickly.
Now he wants to throw it back. And a ball picked off by the Jaguars. Josh Allen, has he done enough this year yet? He picked off the double pass and ran it back inside the 10-yard line. Dropping is Richardson, dropping, fires deep downfield, and that ball is intercepted by Tyson Campbell. He picked it off. He picked it off at the 43-yard line of the Indianapolis Colts.
Ball, man. Locked in for another 4 years. Love y'all. Ready to get to work. You know, bring the Super Bowl to Jacksonville, man. Duval.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith,
John Shipley,
and Dylan Denmark.
Gotta love it. Gets me every freaking time. Demetrius gets introduced like that as well, right? I think, Tone. Good morning, Tony Smith. How are you?
Doing well.
I got an extra 30 minutes of shut-eye this morning. No Jaguar training camp. Off day today, on the practice field tomorrow, and then the in-stadium practice, we'll call it. I don't think it's a scrimmage. They're just practicing in the stadium, but a lot of people like to go check that out, and you'll have that opportunity, but make sure you do go to Jaguars.com to pre-register, because if you show up without a ticket, they're going to say, no, thank you, you're not coming in. John Shipley, you just heard him from Jaguar Report here with us this morning. And Ship, tell us, where are we finding all your content right now? I know you're podcasting with Gus Logue regularly. Just give us the rundown of where we can find the Shipley goodness.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's now rebranded as Jaguars on SI, si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Still with Sports Illustrated, doing the Jaguars on SI podcast, formerly the Jaguar Report podcast, but Gus and I went ahead and rebranded. So we can find all of our good stuff. We got a lot of exciting stuff going on.
All right. Sports Illustrated. There you go. Just that kind of covers a lot of it, right?
It does.
Or you can go to _John_Shipley on Twitter or X, whatever the case may be. Good morning, Dylan Denmark.
What's up, Mike?
I don't know. You tell me you're all excited, man. Did you have a good practice yesterday?
I mean, it was hot. You know, it was typical.
The Baldwin kids?
The first day in shells, it was a little bit of popping.
Is this a state championship squad you're putting together?
We got to worry about the district first. We got to worry about Middleburg.
Here we go.
13 days.
Coach speak.
Yeah.
Is it really 13 days for the opener for you?
2 weeks, 15. Sorry, 15 days.
That's crazy. We're like, what are we, 9 days from the Jags on the preseason?
I just realized yesterday, yeah.
It's that quick,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's here already. So, Ship, some vehicle issues the last couple of days kept you away from Jaguar training camp, but you're always around the team, and people like to hear your opinions and thoughts on how things are going. Really, that first week, was it overstating? You know, there was a lot of talk about, the offense struggling. Was it overstated? Do you think it was fair? Obviously, they've had some bounce-back days in the most recent practices, but how did you feel through the first 4 or so practices?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was overstated. Like, if you're just simply saying the actual results and what you're seeing on the field, like, that's what was happening. The defense was stifling them for the first, I'd say, majority of the first 4 days. The offense kind of started getting into some rhythm on the 5th day, and then obviously over the last two days, most of the reports are that the offense has started clicking. I don't think it was overstating it, because it was the case. But again, as with training camp, there's always reasons why, and a ton of context we don't know. I mean, we don't know what they're trying to install that day, what they're personally, trying to get accomplished. A big thing with training camp is you're never scheming for your defense like you're scheming for a defense during a regular season. So sometimes you're throwing, crap against a wall that it's just not going to work. And then, I'd say secondly is, even though that is what was happening, the defense was dominating the offense, I think with training camp, you can realize that, yes, this is what it's going on, but not draw a giant, conclusion from it or, an overreaction. I know there were certainly some people running for the hills. Last week, I think Lawrence threw 5 interceptions in the first 3 or 4 practices. A lot of people were concerned with that, but it's training camp. Things happen, especially early on in camp, and it's not always indicative of how the season goes. I mean, they started off training camp, the offense, red hot last year.
Right.
Calvin Ridley looked like he was about to have 1,500-yard season. So it's not always, indicative of what's about to happen.
I do wonder, Tony, sometimes, like, the defense sees the same formations. They've got to know what's coming sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you're running the same plays or the same sets of plays throughout the course of a week, and why the defense doesn't sometimes dominate a little bit more.
Well, it's the nature of training camp. As you mentioned, they did start hot on offense last year, but Calvin Ridley did have a day where he had the 3-4 drops, whatever it was, and everyone was like, what's going on with this guy? How rusty is he? And he was like, chill.
I think he even said he was that day. He was like, I had a good practice.
Yeah, like
other than the drops.
Like that's the nature of training camp. But given, especially the way that the defense struggled coming down the stretch last year, they changed defensive coordinator, so Nielsen is a new man in charge of what they want to do on that side of the ball. I thought most of my reaction to all the early success for the defense was good.
Yeah.
Especially given that they were putting the defense in advantageous situations where you are playing red zone, basically to start training camp, which I don't remember ever covering a team that was doing that kind of thing that much that early, but that's what they chose to do this year. So I'm not surprised the defense was ahead of the offense at the beginning of camp, the way that they were running it. I may be surprised by how far ahead it felt like they were through the first 3 or 4 days, but it feels like that's closed here in the last 2.
I can honestly say, in the 5 training camps I've covered, the passing windows haven't been tighter than they've been in this training camp. I mean, the stark contrast from style of defense that Mike Caldwell and co deployed to this style of defense, it's hard to really put into words. I think that's a factor too. Playing a different form of defense, playing guys who are being pressed and challenged more at the line of scrimmage. I mean, there was a lot less space. At least I felt like, watching, routes on air and everything like that, routes against the defense 7-on-7 than there had been in the past, because instead of, defensive backs lining up 7-8 yards, off the ball and reading the quarterback, they're right in their face at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, which I think most fans want and relate to, right? Like, if you're going to get beat going down swinging kind of situation. I feel like, and for me, I've been to every practice, but I'm only there for the first half of practice. So most of the good stuff happens, after I leave. They do all the team periods. But, a combination of what I've seen with my own eyes and the reporting out there, I feel like Ronald Darby's having one of the best camps of anybody. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. I thought through the first 2 or 3 days, Tyson Campbell was the best performer in the camp. And then obviously he had a little ankle injury. It seems like he's back from, but he missed, I'd say a practice, maybe practice and a half of team reps. After he went out, Ronald Darby stepped right up as well. He's been, I think, since the first day of camp, one of the better performers. I mean, you can see he still has the speed. You can see the veteran, experience. I mean, even the big, play that Brian Thomas had in the end zone a couple of days over him, it was really good coverage.
He was there.
Yeah, he was literally right there in his hip pocket. It was just a great catch.
Yeah, and I feel like, and again, this is not to throw cold water on Jarian Jones. It just feels like something is going to have to happen dramatically in these preseason games for Darby not to open up as a starter opposite Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really why I think they signed him to begin with. Signing him, it gave them that insurance and flexibility to where in round 1, they didn't have to, necessarily pick a corner. Mm-hmm. They were able to wait until round 3. And they also, no matter how encouraging or exciting the rookie is, they don't have to rely on a rookie week 1. I think Jarian, if there's any injury, any of the 3 cornerback spots, Tyson, Darby, or Savage, I think he's the first guy to go in. But I do think Darby's going to be starting week 1. I mean, he hasn't shown any signs of a veteran as losing gas or anything like that.
We talked a lot throughout the offseason about not having really any idea how they want to use any of the guys.
Yeah.
Right? Any of these pieces in the secondary, we're not going to start learning that. You're not going to learn it in OTAs as they're playing everybody everywhere, right? Those kind of things. It sounds like Darby has taken hold of being whatever the second corner on the team is going to be. Now, in today's NFL, as we've talked about all the time, you're generally playing 3 corners, so it's still, you got to figure out exactly what that depth chart is going to look like. But have you gotten any better idea on how they want to use the other pieces they have in the secondary through the first week of camp, or is it still too early even in camp to get an idea of that?
It might be a little early. I think you're starting to see some signs of it and signs of the rotation. I'm a believer that when it happens week 1, that Darnell Savage will be starting in the slot. Antonio Johnson will be starting at safety. I've been really impressed by Savage. I know he wasn't always predominantly a slot player in Green Bay. He moved between there and safety at times. But I saw he did an interview with Jamal St. Cyr the other day where he said he thinks this defense specifically fits him more than the defenses he played in Green Bay. And I think him playing in the slot is a big reason why for that. And he's in my opinion, had an impressive camp. He was coming off a shoulder injury last year. I believe it was a rotator cuff injury. But, he hasn't looked, any bit less physical in camp. He's had a couple nice pass breakups on Christian Kirk, who, is probably the most consistent receiver, on the team. So he's had an impressive camp. I think you're going to see him starting in the slot.
And Dewey Wingard had a great start to camp. He's been banged up this week. We don't know really the extent of it. They don't have to tell us that. I always think people, and myself included, look at him as, he's great depth, good special teams, knows the defense. He'll be ready to go if called upon. And I don't think of him as a starting caliber guy, but I felt like that first week he was kind of stepping up and challenging a little bit. Is he in the mix at all, with Antonio Johnson or anybody else in that safety competition?
Yeah, no, I think he'd definitely be in the mix. I don't think they're just going to hand Antonio Johnson the job, obviously. I think it's something that's going to be won throughout camp because, like you said, Dewey's normally seen as, a positive depth guy, stuff like that, but they've never had any issues with inserting him into the lineup, in the past. A game against Pittsburgh last year, he had one of his better games, really, as a Jaguar. So I think Antonio's still going to start, but I could definitely see Dewey, pushing for snaps. I think safety honestly might be their best room just in terms of overall depth because you got Dewey, you got Daniel Thomas, who has proved he can play defense in a pinch, but he's a great special teamer. And then Josh Proctor, really encouraging undrafted free agent. He already got highlighted by Heath Farwell for his work on special teams, and Dane Brugler had him as a fifth-round grade coming out. He was a mega recruit at Ohio State. Not really sure why he went undrafted, but I think safety is probably their top to bottom best room on the
and of course
roster.
Cisco,
absolutely
in the mix. Who's
absolutely
going to be one of those starters this year, unless something absolutely crazy happened.
He's had a good camp too.
It's good to hear. Through the eyes of John Shipley, we're going to take a look at Jaguars training camp today with them having an off day, and so for you, it's an opportunity to take advantage to pick John's brain. If you would like to pass a question along, that's today's Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day. Just asking you, what are your Jaguars training camp questions for John Shipley? We've got plenty of our own, and we'll get his opinion on a lot of Jaguar-related issues as we're only 9 days away from that preseason opener, man. It's going to get on us really quickly. If you want to be a part of the conversation today, 641-1010 on the Garber Auto Mall phone lines or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You can hop in that YouTube virtual studio and pop in the chat there as well. And you can also hit us up on social media at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, at _John_Shipley, and at 1010XL Denmark.
Hold my pocket.
All right, we'll do it. As that going old school with that one. We'll take our first time out here. We'll come back. I already got a bunch of questions pouring in for John, so let's continue the conversation on Jaguar training camp with John Shipley in studio. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Now, a 1010XL Summer Olympic Update brought to you by
USAPark.net Airport Parking.
Westwood One Sports presents this special update on the 2024 Summer Games. All eyes will be on Simone Biles and Suni Lee, who will be stealing the spotlight on Day 6 when the American duo competes in the women's all-around individual gymnastics final. Lee is the defending gold medalist in the event. Biles won it in Rio 8 years ago. U.S. Gymnastics have won the women's all-around title every year since 2004. At Roland Garros, the men's singles quarterfinal is underway. American Tommy Paul is taking on Spain's Carlos Alcaraz. Meanwhile, a huge upset this morning in women's tennis as China's Zhang Qinwen knocked off world number 1 Iga Świątek of Poland in the singles semifinals in straight sets to advance to the gold medal match. It's the first day of golf in Paris. Japan's Hideki Matsuyama is the clubhouse leader at 8 under. He's currently one shot ahead of defending gold medalist Xander Schauffele, who's still on the course. With this Summer Games update, I'm Erica Herskowitz, Westwood One Sports.
Wellness means something different to each of us. And at Westin Hotels and Resorts, we believe every step is an opportunity to enhance your well-being. Whether it's guided group runs and workout gear on demand, or nourishing food options and restorative rest in our heavenly bed. When you travel, you can find wellness at Westin, one of 30 hotel brands in the Marriott Bonvoy portfolio. Find wellness at Westin.
Pain means pause on the things you love, but green means go. Cool the pain with BioFreeze and keep on going. BioFreeze cools and relieves sore muscles and joints. It works fast and is long-lasting by using cold therapy to help relieve the pain. In fact, it's the #1 clinician-recommended menthol topical pain relief brand based on Ipsos clinician survey of chiropractors, podiatrists, massage therapists, retail pharmacists, and athletic trainers. BioFreeze. Green means go. Learn more at biofreeze.com. Use as directed.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Daytona always brings the drama.
Everything's on the line. The risk will be higher.
3 wide.
Look how insane this is.
Gunning to keep playoff hopes alive. It's now or never.
It's the most stressful night of racing that you'll ever go through.
For an unforgettable weekend of family fun, high wattage star power, and a front row seat full of fireworks. NASCAR weekend at Daytona International Speedway, August 23rd and 24th. Get your tickets now at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
Have you tried golfing at the improved Cimarron Golf Club? If you haven't, tell you what, you're missing out on the best deal in Jacksonville. Now, many of you have received a postcard in the mail, and of course, if you bring that with you, $45 plus tax to play. That includes a cart, lunch, and a beer at the brand new Stone Barrel Tap House. Now, go to the website, that is CimarronGolfClub.com, and sign up for the Wild One Loyalty Program. That's the Wild One Loyalty Program, and get all of these specials emailed to you from Cimarron.
You're locked into Jaguars Today Thursday with Cannons of Jacksonville.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Pull up a chair at the table for some Saturday afternoon sports talk with Compton and Company.
So you want to talk about this or what?
Join Compton and Company noon to 2 Saturdays for more conversation about the teams you care about most.
I have questions. I need answers.
On 1010XL.
Your cooling system isn't working. Maybe somebody showed up with a portable electronic device. Then they discussed with you what your options are. Maybe they gave you an estimate that seems like an awful lot of money. What's the smart thing to do? When the situation merits a second opinion, get a Mike Merritt opinion. Yes, the Mike Merritt Comfort Team shows up with hand tools. We've never been able to fix an air conditioning problem with a tablet. Mike Merritt has been the trusted name for more than 30 years because there's never any hocus pocus. The Merritt team will walk you through the diagnostic steps up close and personal and show you exactly what you need. And the Mike Merritt price is likely to be far less because there's never an overtime charge, and the Merritt team doesn't work on commission. So remember, when it comes to the health of your cooling system, a second opinion can only help, and a Mike Merritt opinion can save you money. Florida license CACO 50384.
How many professional golfers have won the Grand Slam, all 4 majors, in one calendar year?
With hurricane season now here, the only weather you need to be concerned about is whether your homeowner's insurance policy will cover you in the event of storm damage. Ask about Southern Oak Insurance today.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
The only golfer to win golf's Grand Slam in one calendar year was Bobby Jones in 1930.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Raid wants to know, what would you do if you could confidently face every day knowing you and your loved ones are protected? Would you sing along to your favorite song at the top of your lungs? Turn off the GPS and let your heart do the guiding. Go to the drive-thru and order one of everything. Feel the buzz of confidence of knowing you are protected with 65 years of insect science in your hands. Raid. Protection for everyone.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. Hey gang, Hicken here for Zero Res. Man, it is hot outside this time of the year. Many of us are staying inside or going to the pool. Well, my friends at Zero Res are also heating things up. As you know, Zero Res does a great job of cleaning carpets and rugs. But they also clean luxury vinyl planking, tile and grout, fine stone and hardwood floors. And right now, the hottest price of the year, 25% off all hardwood cleaning. That's 25% off tile, LVP, fine stone, and hardwood floors. Zero Res, man, spell it forward. Zero Res, spell it backward. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
100%. And I mean, you saw practice today. We got a lot of guys that love to work. You know, we got some hard workers, and that's going to pay off. So I love the attitude that we've had so far. Emphasis on being physical has been a big thing for us too.
Well, Folsom Prison Blues right there. Pockets has been eclectic lately with the music selection.
That's a good pick.
I don't mind it. I'm just. How does he know this, right? I'm not sure he does, actually, but it came across our desk there. Trevor Lawrence on the pod, our NFL Network interview with Brian Baldinger yesterday. He just says, likes the attitude about the physicality in camp. Have you noticed this? How do you feel about, obviously the pads just went on the last couple of days, but do you get the sense that there is a mindset that this team is trying to be more physical this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like they kind of set the tone, right after the season, that they thought a big issue with them last season was, not being physical enough. I know this might sound like a small thing, but, maybe too many 2-point stances, not enough just putting your hand in the dirt, flying off the ball, whether offense or defense. So I definitely do think that's been something that they tried to make an emphasis of. And, I think naturally, they added some physical players. Gabe Davis is one of the more, I'd say, physical type of, receiver archetypes in the league. Ron Darby's physical player. Obviously, Eric Armstead, Mitch Morse. Look at some of the guys they brought in in the draft between Jarian Jones, Mason Smith, Jordan Jefferson. They brought in a lot of physical guys, and I think you could tell early on in camp that I wouldn't say chippy, as in like the two sides kind of teeing off on each other, but you could definitely see that both sides, especially the defense, kind of had an edge to them how they want to approach this camp.
Ryan Nielsen, I think it was Mia yesterday said that if you're talking about who's the MVP of camp so far, it might be Ryan Nielsen. Right? Like it really is. You hear every player on that side of the ball rave about it. Now, I'm sure if we went back, we would have heard positive things about Mike Caldwell. We're loving this defense and blah, 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 blah. But it just does seem – I think players want to attack. They don't want to lay back, and they don't want to play 7 yards off. And let's get up there and let's get in the guy's face and put the pressure on him. So you mentioned a bunch of rookies. Let's start at the top with Brian Thomas. How do you think things are coming along for him?
I think, Doug Peterson said the other day he thinks he's right where he needs to be. I think that's probably accurate, If anybody, in my opinion, comes into the season expecting him, to be a bona fide 1,000-yard, already a number one receiver, I think that's probably asking a bit too much. And that doesn't have as much to do with him as it has to do with the structure of the offense. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, I think, are going to be the two most targeted guys on the offense. I think Gabe Davis will get, his fair share, being a veteran. And then I think Brian Thomas will come in somewhere behind them, but still play an important role in the offense as a vertical threat. I mean, I think you've seen him show off some of that speed, so far in training camp. The ability to go up and get the ball, play above the rim. That play against Darby was the best play a receiver had made through the first, couple of days of camp. And, it kind of felt like a statement, play for Thomas a little bit because, first couple of days, there weren't a lot of plays being made by him. Darby, especially, was giving him some issues in team drills. And it just felt like that play was kind of a, weight off his back, kind of a, okay, let's really, get this thing started. I think, like Doug said, I think he's probably right where he needs to be.
And Christian Kirk acknowledged, too, Tony, that they're working on a lot of short and intermediate stuff to open up camp, right? Mm-hmm. Which you bring in Brian Thomas to be a field stretcher.
Exactly.
When you're jumping right into red zone, well, there's not much field stretching that's going on from the 18-yard line in that case. So maybe didn't get a chance to show what he's capable of in that first week of practice.
Yeah, and look, we already talked about how much they were doing red zone early on in camp and how unusual that is, right? That would be where they'd start an offense when there are no pads on, you got no space to work with. Hey, guys, good luck. It did feel like that kind of thing early on, which is fine, and the team seems to have moved past that and gotten better for having done it, I think is the ultimate outcome of it. But I found it interesting that the interceptions that Trevor Lawrence was throwing, I can remember at least 3 of them were on targets to Christian Kirk in that part of the field. And one of the things that we've been trying to figure out when they are in that part of the field, how much is Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr., who was a touchdown scorer. Evan Ingram seems like he's a big enough guy. It's been a little bit surprising that he hasn't been more involved in that part of the field in the couple of years that he's been here. Have you gotten any sense on how much who they're going to be throwing to in that part of the field has changed with what they've added this offseason?
No, you make a good point. I mean, throwing in the red zone, especially I'd say from 10 yards in, has been a struggle for them the last couple of years. It hasn't really seemed like you mentioned Ingram physically seems like he'd be a fixture there, but it doesn't seem like they've been able really to get any target consistently in there. Even Christian Kirk to an extent hasn't really been a huge red zone threat. I think Gabe Davis, as the pads continue to be worn as training camp goes on, I think he'll probably establish himself as that kind of player just because he's probably the most physical pass catcher that they have. He has the strength. He obviously has the frame. He can win, above the rim. He can win those contested situations. I think as training camp goes on, you start to see him become a bigger part of the red zone offense. But I also think, a big philosophy of theirs, since Doug Peterson has gotten there is spread the ball around. So I think you're going to see them try Christian Kirk some, try Evan Ingram some. I think you'll see Brian Thomas, get his, occasional red zone targets, even though, like you mentioned, his skill set right now is better for stretching the field, and when they start out with 5 to 10 yard routes, it's not asking for his exact strength. That's probably the next, that and going over the middle is probably the next step of his game that he needs to unlock. But I think Gabe Davis would be a big factor there.
Yeah, it's interesting because you watch Davis, right, and you're like, you're right, he's got that wide shoulder body type, and he looks like he could be a contested catch guy in a short area. But you look at his yards per catch averages in Buffalo, he's a field stretcher on top of that, right? So, hopefully he can be, put it this way, the complete package, at least to the point where, like Zay Jones was when they got him, they saw something in him that if we put him in the right situations, he's got more to give. Yeah. And I think they believe that about Gabe Davis. And one thing I pointed out, if you compare where he is at this stage of his career to where Zay was when he came to Jacksonville, it's no contest. Gabe Davis has been the much better player.
Oh, without question. And honestly could see Gabe Davis's role, even changing some in Jacksonville. I think a big reason why his, average depth of target and, role in Buffalo is what it was because they needed somebody, to run the vertical routes to free up Stephon Diggs on the other sides of the field. Whereas now, I think Brian Thomas has that role in Jacksonville where he's running the vertical routes. And then, you maybe see Gabe Davis get some more intermediate stuff.
All right, more with John Shipley coming up. We'll get a little deeper into this year's draft class. Got a lot of questions about last year's as well from some of your observations. The Tank Bigsby hype is starting to build once again for the second consecutive offseason. John Shipley is here with us from SI, and and you can take advantage. You can submit questions via social media, as a bunch of you have done, or on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, or pick up the phone and call us on the Garber Auto Mall phone lines at 641-1010. Talking Jaguar training camp. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Everywhere I go, people are like, where did you go? There's a lot less of you. Well, there is a lot less of me. And not that I haven't dropped weight before, but Awaken 180 makes you the promise that not only will you lose the weight safely, effectively, rapidly, but you'll keep that weight off through great coaching and assistance that is free once you hit your goal weight. I've hit my goal weight last September. I've kept every single pound off my frame since then. Just look at Hacker walking around over 80 pounds lighter than he was just a few months ago. Awaken 180, you could be the next success story. You eat to lose weight. It doesn't require exercise. It doesn't require injections. It doesn't require any medications. It's a way that changes your thinking about how you eat, when you eat, what you eat, and it'll change your habits, and it'll change your life, quite frankly. Call 844-346-1800 if you want to get on board with Awaken 180 Weight Loss. That's 844-346-1800, or schedule a free consultation online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
Joe C. for Hard Rock Bet. It's Florida's only legal sportsbook. Hard Rock Bet is the way to go. Easy sign up, fast deposits and withdrawals, PayPal, Venmo, cards, and more. They take them all. And we're talking hundreds of props, parlays, live play-by-play betting across every sport. And you can bet from anywhere in the state of Florida. If your first bet doesn't win, you get up to $100 back for another shot. Download Hard Rock Bet now or go online at hardrock.bet.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality product and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Jaguars Today Thursday is hitched to Cannons of Jacksonville for all your towing needs.
If you're looking for the best in indoor air quality, I've got the experts to call. Florida Home AC, the official AC provider of the Jaguars, specializing in the best air quality for your home or work with the Remy Halo. Instead of waiting for pollutants to travel through the ductwork to be neutralized, the Halo cell releases friendly oxidizers every time your fan blows air, helping those in your home that suffer from allergies and other respiratory issues. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC and start enjoying cool comfort and clean air.
Hello, this is Father Nicholas Lowe, and I want to talk to you about letting things roll off of your back. So often we can make big deals out of things that are not really big deals. We can allow them to steal the joy of our day. But let me remind you that don't allow anyone or anything to steal the joy of today. Go out today not letting little things steal the big things that God has in store for you.
For more inspiration, log on to stjohnthedivine.com.
Get recruiting tips and advice from area coaches, pros, athletes, and their parents.
So you gotta up your game.
Plus, better ways to train as B3 Better brings you the Amateur's Edge Show, Saturday from 11 to noon on 1010XL.
Veterans, did you know VA mortgage rates have plummeted and you can now access up to 100% of your home's equity and turn that into cash right now? Hey, it's Roger Moore, President and CEO of Loan Pronto, announcing our VA Equity Advantage program. This VA offer can get you $50,000, $70,000, $100,000 cash out with no junk fees and no hassle. With APRs in the 5s, you can pay off all those credit cards, personal loans, car loans, and get one easy-to-manage payment. Veterans we help save on average $850 per month. And listen, if you're a veteran with a current mortgage rate over 6.25%, we can do a streamlined refinance with no income verification and no appraisal, saving you hundreds a month. At Loan Pronto, we respect what you've done for our country, and we show it. Call now and ask about our special VA Equity Advantage program. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal Housing Lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org.
What's changed totally inside and out? The Kuhn Flowers massive storefront, and yes, they've totally remodeled the showroom inside too. This is Frank Frangie, and the next time you drive by, stop and smell the roses at Kuhn Flowers.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
For over 40 years, Play It Again Sports has served its customers with a winning, sustainable shopping model. Could say, we were recycling before recycling was cool. Save on quality used sporting goods for baseball, softball, lacrosse, hockey, golf, tennis, and more. Or sell us your gently used gear. We buy all sports, all seasons, and offer cash on the spot. Stop by Play It Again Sports today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainsports.com.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician, Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Regular movement is key to so many health benefits. Aim for at least 10,000 steps a day. Decide to only take the stairs if you're walking less than 6 floors. Never park in the first 10 spaces of the parking lot. Walk during your work breaks. Get up 10 minutes earlier in the morning and take a short, brisk walk before the chaos of the day starts. There are so many easy ways to stay active. Let's get moving, Jacksonville.
Did you know you can charge the all-new Honda Electric Prologue in the same receptacle as your phone? You don't need these special charging stations at your home. Simply plug in your Honda or your phone. See your local Honda dealer now. We're electrified.
Hello, sports fans. Hickett here. Let's talk skin. Iron Beach's Dermatology are reminding you to wear your sunscreen. If you're an active parent hanging at the fields, in your boat to fish, or like to chill at the sandbar, wear sunscreen. But if you're the one that decided for years it's not cool, guess what? Cancer isn't cool either. So when grabbing the clubs for your tea time, gassing up the boat, or grabbing the chairs for your kids' games, make sure you bring the screen. Any concerns now? Give Beaches Dermatology a call online at beachesdermatology.com.
This is Dr. Kevin Kaplan, head team physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jags, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Quarterback Trevor Lawrence was on NFL Network yesterday speaking on his optimism going into the season, believing the leadership they have this year will contribute to their success.
You got to play the season, so I never like to say too much before the year starts because it's a long year and you got to earn it every week. But I will say this is definitely the most talented team that I've been a part of since I've been here. No question about that. And I think the leadership is as good or better than I've ever seen it. We've grown up a lot. We've been through a lot, this group together. Now it's our third year with the staff. Yep. It's really exciting days ahead, and obviously we got to go prove it. That's our job. Beyond that, that we got to do it every week and prove it. Yeah, we're excited.
Sound courtesy of the NFL Network. I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now more Jaguars today on 1010XL.
I ain't hating it, Dylan. I'll say that. Did I just see Xander Schauffele leading right now? I think he's at the top of the leaderboard, 17 under in the Olympic golf right now. That'd be a nice little way to tie up the year before the
what a year.
2 majors and an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Be all right. I don't know if anybody would factor that in the PGA Tour Player of the Year voting because it's not a PGA event, but kind of hard to overlook it if he wins the gold medal right now. He's 3 shots clear of the field. So
Scheffler's playing.
He is playing.
Yeah.
Go Xander. Go. Anybody with the American flag on him, if they win Wyndham Clark, you're going to have to come from way behind at this point in time. John Shipley is here with us. Take advantage, and you can hop on the phone lines, Garber Auto Mall phone lines at 641-1010. Buddy on the north side has done just that. Buddy, you're on Jaguars Today. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, man. How you doing?
Excellent. What's up?
But I wanted to weigh in on the Tank Bigsby hype.
Okay.
Last year, his first 2 touches, I believe, they wanted him to basically catch the ball out of the backfield, and we all know how that ended. But he's not that type of runner. I don't think he ever really caught the ball out of the backfield in college. Not that much. He's a downhill runner. So I feel like, he kind of got lost in the sauce as far as, personnel, in situational football. They asked him to do something that he wasn't comfortable with. And, of course, he's going to have rookie jitters. I mean, hand the guy the ball. And then we got ETN, who's one of the best in the league at catching the ball out of the backfield. So why would we have our rookie running back catching the ball out of the backfield for his first 2 touches?
All right.
So
I got you.
Yeah, so I definitely want to weigh in on that. I think he's going to have a great season this year, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the call. For the record here, just looking up the Tank Bigsby stat lines from Auburn. Had 11 catches as a freshman, 21 as a sophomore, 30 as a junior. So not insignificant, right? And I think that's showing you the ability to catch a ball out of the backfield. They have used him, in some of these practices. We've seen him doing that. John, what do you make about Buddy's point here?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're putting him, out wide or anything like that. I think both of those turnovers were, on checkdowns. So it's just something that, if you're going to play, at that level, as a running back, if you're going to be on the field, you have to provide something, in the passing game. Obviously, they're not going to try to Urban Meyer him and call him a slash or anything like that. But, he has to at least be, I think, competent in that regard. But, to his credit, I said during the spring OTAs and stuff that, Tank had some drops during practices. Practices I've seen during training camp, I haven't seen him put a ball on the ground yet. So he's somebody who, I think has had a really strong camp so far. He's broken off long runs in seemingly every practice that I've seen. And it's a little bit of, I don't know, maybe buyers beware with some people because he had a really strong camp last year. And then obviously the turnovers made his rookie year go completely downhill. Coaching staff seemingly lost trust in him. But in terms of guys bouncing back and playing well right now, I think he's definitely one of them.
All right, so first drive of the season, Jags take it down to the 1-yard line. It's 3rd and 1. ETN's got a hell of a nose for the end zone himself, right? I feel like they drafted Tank Bigsby, though, for those kind of situations. Who's in there?
ETN.
Okay.
Yeah, ETN. They did draft him for those situations. If it's 7-0,
put it this way: 3rd and 1 at the 25. Maybe it's Bigsby, but 3rd and 1 at the 1.
I think so.
You're going with ETN.
Yeah, I think so.
At that point in time,
so.
Buddy. Thank you for the call. Just in general, I had a question about the young players, whether they're rookies last year or this year's class. Outside of the guys we discussed, we talked about Tank, we talked about Brian Thomas. Has anybody, a first or second year player, really caught your eye so far?
I think Parker Washington has, carried over his strong, offseason over in the training camp. They've moved him around some. I still think, and I think it's kind of shown that his best spot is still in the slot. So it's not like he's going to have a huge role in the offense unless something happens to Christian Kirk. But he's a nice guy to at least have on the depth chart, have in the rotation. Christian Braswell, a 6th-round pick last year, was held out of a lot of last year's training camp with a hamstring injury and then missed his rookie year with another injury. But even dating back to last year, you heard coaches and people inside the building, say this guy, could be a potential, diamond in the rough, etc. He's really turned it on this training camp. He the other day, he on one rep against Christian Kirk, and it was 1-on-1, so the quarterback has to throw the ball, so some context is needed. But he broke up one pass against Christian Kirk, and then on the very next rep, realized the route he was running, drove on it, picked Trevor Lawrence off. He's at a really, really strong camp, and it's kind of been a little bit of confirmation on the hype that coaches have had for him for 2 years. And now that he's healthy, it really looks like he's performing.
Yeah, somebody else mentioned DeAndre Prince. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I haven't noticed him that much. But again, I'm not out there for a lot of the team period stuff. And when I brought him up to you, you said that first week, probably at least once a day, he was in the mix breaking up a pass.
Yeah, no, he's gotten his hands on a lot of footballs. He's been really good at defending intermediate routes. I've seen him break up 2 or 3 passes over the middle. Trevor Lawrence, I believe it was on the 4th day of practice, uncorked a really nice pass down the deep middle part of the field to Elijah Cooks, but Prince was able to knock it out at the last second. He's not the biggest guy. You can tell that, he can definitely, maybe put some more on his frame, but just in terms of the defense that they're running and what they're asking him to do, he can obviously run. He had a great 40 time. It seems like he's somebody who, has natural cover instincts. So, yeah, maybe somebody who's not going to make a giant non-special teams impact right away, but somebody that you can at least, look at in the future.
I don't want to go overboard with it, but could corner turn out to be a sneaky good position for this football team?
On one hand, yes. On the other hand, I could say no after saying for 4 months that I didn't need to take a corner in the first round and just kind of stick to that. But no, corner is looking like a fairly, strong position for them. Tyson and Darby, obviously, solid starting corners. Jarian Jones in the mix. If you want to count Darnell Savage in the slot. And then, Prince and Braswell have impressed. Buster Brown has experience. You got some other guys, Gregory Jr., Trey Flowers, Stephon Campbell, who are fighting for spots. It definitely seems like they have a well-rounded room.
You mentioned you would have liked to see them take a corner. Obviously, they go with Brian Thomas in the first round. And somebody suggested, you got to – I don't know what the right phrasing is here. Don't go too overboard with Brian Thomas not dominating practice. He's still – like every single drill that they go through, Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas are the first three guys to go through that drill. I don't think that's coincidence. And the guys behind him are often shuffled in a variety of orders. But it's like those guys are the leading guys. And someone suggested, is he not ready? Will we see Parker Washington play the slot, push Christian Kirk to the outside? I mean, Brian Thomas is going to play. Yeah. Right? It's just that I think what you're saying is don't expect wide receiver one production immediately from him.
Exactly. He's a lock to start, in my opinion. I think he's their only rookie who week one is a lock to start. And I think he's going to have an important role on the offense. I think even when he's not getting the ball, he'll be impacting the defense in some way just because you have to respect his downfield speed. And like you said, my primary point is, they have two veteran pass catchers who are already kind of, mind melted with Trevor Lawrence. Another veteran pass catcher who's put up big numbers really each year of his career. Not number one receiver numbers, but big numbers. So I'd say patience with Thomas in terms of production just because there's so many mouths to feed. But that's not a knock on where he is right now as a receiver or anything. The book on him has always been, in year one, he can be a vertical threat, provide some speed on the outside as you continue to develop him.
Looking at the depth chart of wide receiver, the back half of it, we know who the top four guys on the chart are going to be, and they're going to be active on game day. Every week, Parker feels like he's kind of in the same position he was last year, where Kirk would not be available to play. That's how Parker gets active on a game day. Tim Jones has been that fifth wide receiver, active special teams guy. Is there anybody on the roster or looking at them right now that you think is a threat to Tim Jones as kind of that fifth wide receiver on the depth chart right now?
I think Elijah Cooks has definitely flashed. He's made some highlight grabs. He's also, had a few passes broken up from him, but I think he's definitely a guy to watch. He also has some special teams value. Joshua Cephas has obviously, had a pretty strong camp. He's looked consistent, I think, from the first day of camp. He's a rookie who it doesn't seem like he's ran into a rookie wall or anything. Memphis undrafted receiver Joseph Skates has made some big plays, specifically from Mac Jones. He's probably more of a practice squad guy, but maybe at least somebody to watch. And then, honestly, Denzel Mims, kind of forgotten about free agent addition. I don't know how many. Wait, they signed Denzel Mims tweets in the last couple of days. He's made some plays deep. He really has. He's been running, obviously, with the backups, with Mac Jones and all that. But as just like a flyer, it seems like he's more interesting of a flyer than the potential Jarvis Landry addition they had. Like, he's shown off speed. He's caught some deep balls. He's flashed.
The special teams requirements are changing with the kickoff rules, right?
Yeah.
Where does Tim Jones fit in? They love his special teams contributions. They love him blocking in the run game. Has never really produced much in the way of the passing game, but they've always felt like he's got a role because he does contribute on special teams. Where does he stand in terms of making the roster?
Yeah, I think he has to fight, for a spot, obviously. If he does make it, I think, like you said, again, he's going to be primarily a special teams player. But when you're not one of the starting receivers, you have to have some kind of special teams value. Like Parker Washington, he looks like, the backup punt returner behind Devin Duvernay. So there's his special teams value. Elijah Cooks is on some coverage units. Same with Tim Jones. He's a thing that he's probably underrated at because you don't think of it as obviously a receiver is he's one of their better tacklers on special teams. Just getting down the field, being physical, bringing ball carriers down. That could be, something they really taken into consideration with these new kickoff rules. So I think he's firmly in the mix, and he's having to fend some guys off, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being the 6th guy.
You look at it, I mean, they could keep 7, right?
They did last year.
Right. Davis, Thomas, Kirk, Duvernay, Washington, locks, those 5 guys. So it's really, you're talking about 1 or 2 spots. Tim Jones, Elijah Cooks, Joshua Cephas, probably the leading contenders at the moment in the mix there. Somebody asked about the left tackle battle. How's it going? Is there a battle right now?
I don't think so.
So it's Cam's job.
I think so. And granted, again, I haven't been, at the last 2 because of aforementioned vehicle issues, but practices that I saw, I think it's Cam's job. And whether that changes or not, whether Cam has a long leash during the regular season or not, it just seems like, they've gone into this training camp with the assumption that Cam Robinson is going to be their week 1 starter. I personally haven't seen him pushed a ton, and maybe that changes, as pads continue to come on, as they enter the preseason, we can, maybe see how many reps they're kind of sharing, but it just hasn't looked or felt like much of a battle to this point.
Why hasn't Walker Little ever really pushed that spot?
I don't know. I think a big part of it was, there was a question last year. I remember even asking it once that, say Cam Robinson comes back from his injury, but Walker Little is playing really well. Do you even bench Walker Little? And it seemingly the answer was, well, you have to because Cam Robinson's making too much money, not to play. And I think that's been the big thing. Walker Little, when Cam Robinson came back last year, I think through the first month of last season, there were only 5 offensive tackles with a better pressure rate allowed than Walker Little. And it was like Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell, some of the best tackles in the league. So Walker, I don't think has ever been moved off the spot for performance reasons. It's just, Cam Robinson's one of the highest paid players on the team. He's got to play. And
terrible reason.
It does. And the fact that Dave even drafted Walker Little, it didn't seem like they had much of a long-term plan when they did because they tagged Cam twice and then extended him, and it just never really seemed like there was much of a plan in place for Walker Little. And he's obviously has tried right tackle, has tried guard, it kind of been jerked around a little bit. It just hasn't worked out. It's one of those few draft picks where it hasn't worked out yet, but you can't at all blame it on the quality of player.
Yeah, I'm out there with Tom McManus, chatting with him almost daily, and he loves the way he moves. The fact that for a guy his size, as agile as he is, how he can move below to the ground, stay in his crouch, still shift around, and just hard to understand why he hasn't been able to take more advantage of whatever opportunities as the 45th overall pick in the draft just a few years ago. But
yeah. I thought when he was coming out, if he didn't have those injuries at Stanford, he would have ended up being top 15, top 20 pick.
That's what they thought, right? And that's kind of what they did with Mason Smith as well. So we'll talk about him and Jordan Jefferson, his other LSU teammate, in addition to Brian Thomas in this draft class with John Shipley. If you want to get in, 641-1010, the easiest way to do it on the Garber Auto Mall phone lines. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios at 1010XL.
There's a new one-stop shop for all things Gators. Subscribe to the 1010XL Gators YouTube channel. Up-to-the-minute updates, instant reaction from Gainesville, plus the same 1010XL Gators podcast you've grown to know. And check out 1010XL Gators on YouTube.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
The 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris feature incredible athletes and is the 3rd time the Olympics will be held in Paris. If you're planning to attend, USAPark.net Airport Parking salutes your support of our American athletes. So no matter where you're going, whether you're traveling to the Olympics to support our athletes or just visiting Grandma, remember to park at USAPark.net.
Jaguars Today Thursday is towed by Cannons of Jacksonville.
Again, St. Bede's story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said Maraca, senor, but his nose said Hey, freshest scent ever. Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain scent beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent maracas smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain scent beads. Try Gain scent beads. Way fresher than detergent alone.
Right now, they're on their way to ruin your day. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. And if you're not prepared, you will suffer. Yes, it's that time of the year. Heat and humidity are attacking North Florida. But help is at hand. Call Mike Merritt's Heating and Air Conditioning. Mike Merritt has a license to chill and lets you maintain your comfort zone at a bargain price. How? Mike Merritt stands ready to help, routine or emergencies. And Mike Merritt knows emergencies can happen at any time. So with Mike, there's never any overtime charges. And Mike's team works without commissions. Merritt will never try to sell you parts you don't need. You can't trust just anyone with a truck. Call Mike Merritt, the company North Florida has trusted for 30 years. Call today. License number CAC 050384.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation. Light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Hey guys, this is David Garrard, and I want to tell you about Clearwater Irrigation. They put my new sprinkler system in at my new home at Jack's Beach, and I couldn't be happier. Oh, hey John.
What's up, Dave? You know what this means. You're going to have to sing.
Man, I can't sing.
Then you'll fit right in, buddy. Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers. Hit it, Dave.
And drainage too.
ClearwaterJacks.com.
Discover the difference that local expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Visit their showroom at the Avenues and browse high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it worse. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
At Hidden Hills Golf Club, we truly love the game of golf. We invite you to book your next tee time here and enjoy a golfing experience that you might not find at other public facilities. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Here's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. At his preseason camp presser, Gator head coach Billy Napier provided insight on how there's greater accountability on this year's team.
Well, the good thing is I think the players wanted it. It's critical to creating discipline and accountability, attention to detail, urgency, a certain level of focus.
FSU quarterback DJ Uyungale says he's feeling good with how the preseason camp is going.
I feel comfortable, man. I feel comfortable, a lot more comfortable than I did in the spring. As the spring kept going on, I got more comfortable with all the different checks.
Florida State has been voted as the favorite to win the 2024 ACC Championship, with the conference releasing its preseason poll on Wednesday. Seminoles enter the season as defending champions, looking to repeat as title winners for the first time since the 2013-2014 seasons. That's your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm Sam Nelson.
At 10:56, it's 88 degrees. Time at 10, brought to you by Bueller Aaron Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to to know about the Jags. Jaguars today on 1010XL.
All right, Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, John Shipley in studio with us, of course, still in Denmark, spinning the hits for you today on Jaguars Today. And we've got a bunch of questions for you here, Ship, that we'll get to. I did notice that Jaguars Twitter was all aflutter with Cam Little putting somebody in his place yesterday, suggesting you can't be a good kicker if you wear number 39. And he's said something to the effect of, you make sure you get that DoorDash delivery there on time, and I'll handle being the professional athlete here. And Jaguars Twitter was much impressed with that response. I've been much impressed with Cam Little's accuracy as well as his power, seemingly effortless. The ball just jumps off of his leg. I mean, it's, non-stress situations. I get it, but we watch him daily go back to at least 58 yards, sometimes occasionally into the low 60s. And when that ball goes through the uprights, it's going through near the top of the uprights. It's so very impressive leg strength for a guy that I think had a reputation of being more accurate than powerful coming in.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you look at him and, you think more accuracy and power. Yeah. That kicking competition, I think, was over a couple of days before it actually was. I mean, you could just tell the different level of juice that comes off, when Cam Little was kicking it, as opposed to Riley Patterson, who obviously made some big kicks with the Jags, obviously was accurate to a certain point, but once they started moving the range back a little bit, Patterson, he's either missing or it's barely getting over, the bar. Whereas Cam Little, like you said, it's got some air on it. It's going firmly through it. I think has, had a really strong, start to camp. And when you draft a kicker, you better hope you're right.
Right.
Yeah. And so far, he hasn't shown any indications. They've had some rough kicking performances in training camp over the last few years. Dave Campo can attest to that. Nothing to that degree. No issues that I've seen. I think I've only seen him miss one field goal, and it had the distance. He just, hit the right upright.
Right. And
was it McManus that hit Campo with the ball?
No, I think it was. It was either Rosas or they picked up some undrafted kicker that year who people were actually excited about, and then Campo gets hit with a ball, and you're like, well, there goes that.
Yeah, that's probably the end of that.
Now every time you Google that guy's name, Dave Campo's going to come up.
Riley Patterson made the biggest field goal in franchise history, right? I mean, honestly, in that playoff game, and he'll always have an off-season home here if he wants it. But I just felt like he has the leg to kick some mid-50s, but I feel like, he'd watch Little just do that little short stride, boom, pound it, and then he felt like he just had to crush it, and he ended up hooking a lot. And like you said, it wasn't a competition. And I thought they did him a solid letting him go when they did.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. He landed with the Commanders and probably has a legit chance to make their Week 1 roster because they were presuming their kicker was going to be Brandon McManus until, that whole story and everything came out. So the ball, I think, especially people who, were there and saw it, the ball just comes off his foot differently than it did with Riley, differently than I think it has with most kickers they've had in the last couple of years.
All right, so this one from Code Blue on the X platform. Which surprise player do you think will have the biggest impact on the roster this season? One on offense, one on defense. It can be somebody we've mentioned, but, obviously not talking about the Christian Kirk frontline level guys. Yeah. So give us a couple of guys.
Travis Gibson. I think he will probably be the number 3 edge. I've been really impressed by him. He's a really good athlete, a really good bend around the edge. In the past, he was a strong situational pass rusher with the Chicago Bears. He went to Tennessee last year. I remember I did a story with him in the OTAs, during OTAs, when he said, he had an offer from Jacksonville and chose the Titans, and to his exact words, wrong decision. Yep. So it seems like
that plays well here.
Yeah, it seems like he feels like he's in a scheme that can cater to his strengths. Obviously, he's worked with Bill Shuey before. Bill Shuey is one of the more respected coaches on the staff after seeing what Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker have developed into. So I think he probably on defense. I think you probably expect a handful of sacks out of him. Maybe Arden Key, like production. Maybe he won't change the culture of the city. Like
right. Well, and hopefully he won't get suspended for PEDs either, which would be nice for us.
Offensively, I'll cheat. I'll go Brendan Strange and Luke Farrell. Together, I think, they're going to be doing a decent amount of 2 tight end sets. I think they're going to be targeting the tight ends a good amount in the red zone. Brendan Strange, I think he's had a good camp this year. Last year's camp, I thought You could tell he's a rookie tight end, still adjusting, wasn't making that many flash plays. He's made some plays, this time around. I think he's going to play more than he did last year, but every training camp, Luke Farrell gets about 500 targets, and that hasn't changed this year either. So I've seen him catch too many targets from Trevor Lawrence to not think he's going to at least get a handful of targets in the red zone.
The Brenton Strange thing, I don't know if it's somebody, takes in one practice and they see him maybe have a drop or whatever the case, but they had a perception. Somebody on here, I'm trying to find it, had a perception that he's struggling. You think he is having a pretty good camp?
Yeah, no, I don't think he's struggling. Had maybe a drop here or there and a pass whipped out of his hands. I can't think of a player on their roster who hasn't on offense. I mean, Christian Kirk's had some drops and some passes broken up, and nobody seems overly, concerned about his performance in camp. Same goes for Evan Ingram. Same goes for, Brian Thomas. It's just one of the things that happens during camp. I mean, I get asked a lot, like, is there anybody you've seen just play bad in camp and then go on to have a good season? And I always think of Evan Ingram in 2022. I remember Press Taylor getting questions mid-training camp, are you concerned with Evan Ingram and his drops for week one? Because he had, that start to training camp, I want to say he had 5 or 6 drops in a couple team periods. Once week one came around, that mostly went away. Some guys are just like that.
Time machine update, Tony. Apparently, they've got the golf from the Tokyo Olympics on now because there's a weather delay in France. So, sorry, Shoffley, you're not leading by 3, or anybody else who may have had a few ducats on Xander Shoffley to win the gold. I thought I heard the guys this morning say he was like 3 under. That's why I was surprised to see how the scores had
17.
Right. Like maybe it was 3 under in today's round or whatever the case may be. So I don't see anything on that screen that indicates that this is the Tokyo Olympics, Tone. So, I got sucked right into it, and I don't know what the scores looks like.
If I keep my eyes on it, I'll see it here in a second.
Yeah, whatever the case may be.
We're just glancing at it every now and then.
That's why you don't tune in to me for Olympic updates, because whatever catches my eye, I'm going to tell you that's happening in real time right now. All right, Ship, let's see what else we've got here. What is it? I just had one right in front of me that I wanted to pass. Oh, yes. You mentioned Trevis Gibson. General Duval wanted to know, have any of the pass rushers not named Hines Allen or Walker flashed in camp? Has Gibson caught your eye, or do you think he's most likely the next man up?
I think he's the next man up, and he's, caught my eye. Okay. I think he's flashed. I think Miles Cole has had some moments. He obviously is regarded as a raw rookie, kind of a project, but his size, his length has definitely made an impact at times. I think you see Abdullah. You're seeing him, he's a really high energy player. You're seeing him fly around a lot. I think he's at least, made some kind of impression. And then, they signed Rasheem Green a couple days ago.
That was, to me, I wasn't sure about that. Was that an indication that they weren't seeing what they wanted to from some of these other guys, or how did you take that signing?
I think to an extent, maybe some guys further, down the roster, like those 4th, 5th kind of options, like the DJ Coleman, types, stuff like that. I could see it. I don't think he's a guy who says like a lock to make it or anything. He still obviously has to perform. But I think anytime you can get a veteran in there who's at least produced somewhat in the past, it's not a bad idea.
What about a guy like Mason Smith? I know he's a name that we've heard a ton from fans. We've talked about guys that you're expecting, excited about first day in pads. Who's the guy you're most excited about? Mason Smith was not an uncommon answer when we asked that earlier this week. What have you seen from him here early on in camp?
You can tell the athleticism. It isn't just, a combine warrior thing. It isn't just, for show or anything like that. You can tell that speed really shows up in his first step when he's chasing down plays. I've been really impressed with his motor. He's chased down, a couple plays all the way to the sideline. It's obvious that defensive tackle is a pretty strong position group for them. He's probably not going to be, week in, week out, every down player. But at least in terms of what you want to see from the physical traits, I think he's been as advertised.
We always, over the years, I say I'll put myself in this position, but it's not just me, that we watch Jaguar players perform, think they're having a good camp, and they're going up against your own team, and, do they know what's coming? What's the level of competition? I think these joint practices with the Bucs will be a lot more telling on that front. But from what you've been able to ascertain to this point, and I know you weren't out there for the last couple of days, and it's tough to judge offensive line play when the pads are not on. But how do you feel that the coaching staff feels the O-line is coming along?
I think the coaching staff is probably encouraged by it just because Mitch Morse, so far all the reviews have been extremely positive coming out. They really think he's going to help, especially in the running game. I think just having their designated, in 5 starters in that they want, which they didn't, have often last year because of the injuries. I think that probably makes them a little higher on it. Like you say, it's hard to tell, until, pads are on into dog days of camp. That was the one position group I came into camp curious about, and I feel like I haven't really had the answer to myself yet. Like you said, I'd love to see what joint practices are going to look like because, against guys like Vita Vea, some of the edge guys that they have, Kalai Kancey, that will definitely be telling.
Yeah, and there were some reports, and again, I had to leave before this really got underway, that the offensive line was getting some movement on that first day in pads, which is good to hear because the defense had been so dominant up until that point. It's a fair question. We got it yesterday, and it's going to continue to come up until it's proven one way or the other. You look at an offensive line that wasn't great last year. They replaced one guy. Do you think that they've done enough? Like, in the sum total, we know who the 5 starters are going to be if they stay healthy. Yeah. We know Walker Little is going to be a swing tackle. I imagine Cooper Hodges is going to make this football team. How do you think they feel about just the overall depth they've got? Like Javon Foster coming in. He's 6'5", like 315, but he looks narrow to me.
He does.
Right? Like he doesn't look like he's ready to step in a pinch. I'm not saying he wouldn't make the team. Yeah. He's a 4th-round investment, but I guess it's impossible to know. But what is your guess in terms of the approach they took just to replace Morse and hoping that, like you said, continuity is going to raise the level of play here?
Yeah, I mean, just with the moves they made and or didn't make, it kind of tells you, like, they're hoping that Luke Fortner was one of the worst centers in the NFL because he's the only guy that they replaced. They're hoping that a mix of health and replacing him will improve the running game. I personally think it's deeper than that because I think they had, run blocking issues across the line, really across the offense, at tight end, even at wide receiver. People don't think about how much that can impact an offense, but I think their run blocking issues went far beyond Luke Fortner, even if he was, the most popular, culprit. So I'm curious to see if it's going to work out because it seems like they're banking on, 1, their unit staying healthy throughout the season, and then 2, for that unit, when healthy, to be effective. And I'm not sure either one of those, you have a guarantee on. You're just kind of, in my opinion, hoping for a lot of things to break right. And then even though depth hasn't really changed, Walker Little is still depth. Luke Fortner now is going to be a backup center. Cooper Hodges will be able to provide some depth now, maybe step in at guard if any injuries happen. You still have Tyler Shatley. Javon Foster, like you said, I don't think they want Javon Foster to potentially see the field, and I think he's going to be their swing tackle, say, maybe next year.
Right.
So I think that there definitely are questions with their approach, and it's just one of those approaches where they better hope they're right because they're taking some chances.
How much do you think, we were just talking about Brenton Strange a moment ago, and you said you felt like he's had a good offseason, good start to camp this year going into year 2. You talked about the weaknesses they had along that offensive front, especially in the run game. How much did the injuries that Strange had and him not being allowed to be out there, for basically a month impact their ability to run the ball last season? Even though, look, it's a 2nd-round draft pick, I'm not looking to see him impact that necessarily as he's coming in, but he was an impact from that regard for the football team last year. He's healthy enough to go this year, but how much did his absence in the run game last year hurt them?
I think it was definitely a factor. I think when he wasn't on the field, they couldn't do as much 12 and 13 personnel, which has really seemed like they wanted to kind of pivot to last year, do a lot more, under center and play action. They couldn't do that as much when he got hurt last year just because they were lacking in terms of tight end depth. He's probably, their best blocking tight end, and he's the kind of like tight end who you can line him up in several different ways. He can be on the ball. He can be off the ball. He can be used kind of, in the backfield as an H-back or a sniffer. He can do a lot of different things, and I think, when they lost him, they definitely lost a decent chunk of the playbook. They were mostly, relegated to being stuck in, 11 personnel with 3 receivers on the field all the time, and it's a lot easier to defend you when you're throwing out the same formation over and over.
Right. I mean, they invested a 2nd-round pick in the guy, and they were kind of ecstatic when they got him, right? So obviously they have big plans for him to be a part of it, and that doesn't necessarily translate to huge reception totals, and that's fine. If he's helps other guys be more effective in that offense. Look, it's all sunshine and roses at this point in time. Everyone's making plays on both sides of the ball for the most part. But when we come back, we'll ask a very pressing question of John Shipley that somebody submitted. What's the weakest position group that you see on this team right now? And how's the backup quarterback battle going as well? I've got my own observations on that, but we'll get John's from what he has seen from Mac Jones and C.J. Beathard to this point. We'll go around the National Football League as well. 641-1010 gets you on board. It's Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. Now, a 1010XL Summer Olympic Update brought to you by USAPark.net Airport Parking.
Westwood One Sports presents this special update on the 2024 Summer Games, sponsored by Westin Hotels and Resorts. Find wellness at Westin. Tennis at Roland Garros on day 6. Spain's Carlos Alcaraz advanced to the men's singles semifinal, knocking off American Tommy Paul in straight sets. Paul is still alive in men's doubles. A huge upset in women's singles. China's Zheng Qinwen knocked off world number 1 Iga Świątek of Poland in the semifinals in straight sets, and she moves on to the gold medal match. Meanwhile, after yesterday's stunning upset over Spain's superstar duo of Alcaraz and Rafael Nadal, Americans Rajiv Ram and Austin Krajicek won in straight sets today to advance to the gold medal match. The U.S. captured gold in rowing, winning the men's 4 final. It's the first gold for Team USA in men's rowing 4 since the 1960 games. The U.S. is leading the way in overall medals with 31, followed by France and China, which has the most golds with 11. With the Summer Games update, I'm Erica Herskowitz, Westwood One Sports.
Wellness means something different to each of us. And at Westin Hotels and Resorts, we believe every step is an opportunity to enhance your well-being. Whether it's guided group runs and workout gear on demand, or nourishing food options and restorative rest in our heavenly bed. When you travel, you can find wellness at Westin, one of 30 hotel brands in the Marriott Bonvoy portfolio. Find wellness at Westin.
At Lowe's, save big every day. Right now, get a free pneumatic nailer when you buy a pallet of Metabo HPT nails. Plus, save an extra 5% every day on eligible purchases when you use your Lowe's business credit card. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. 5% offer subject to credit approval. Exclusions and terms apply. See store Lowe's.com/credit for details.
Did you know you can charge the all-new Honda Electric Prologue in the same receptacle as your phone? You don't need these special charging stations at your home. Simply plug in your Honda or your phone. See your local Honda dealer now. We're electrified.
I-9 Sports wants to make sure kids all over the First Coast can enjoy growing up on a field or in a gym. And right now, fall and winter registration is open. Find out what I-9 Sports offers across Duval, Clay, and St. John's. I9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code for a discount.
I'm Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. You've heard me talk about the Rolex my grandfather gave me for graduating from college, but there's something else you need to know about Rolex watches from an official Rolex jeweler for over 60 years. If you own a Rolex, probably today more than ever before, if you need that Rolex serviced, you should only visit an official Rolex jeweler. In North Florida, there are 4, with Underwood's 3 stores, and Mayors has 1. Anybody else claiming to work on Rolex has no direct access to parts, and the use of non-authentic Rolex parts jeopardizes your Rolex from both an authenticity and a value standpoint. At Underwood's, we have state-of-the-art Rolex repair shops, both designed and outfitted by Rolex and staffed by Rolex watch technicians trained by Rolex. And best of all, our shop is on premise, so your Rolex will never leave Jacksonville, and our Rolex repairs carry a 2-year warranty. At Underwoods in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops at Ponte Vedra.
Jaguars Today, Thursday.
Brought to you by Cannons of Jacksonville.
The Sunshine State says it all in the nickname. That summer sun in Florida can take its toll on an air conditioning unit and send your electric bill through the roof. Florida Home AC can help you handle the heat with a brand new AC unit with low monthly payments and over $3,000 in federal tax credits on select systems. So this summer, don't sweat it out. Cool off with Florida Home AC, the official AC company of the Jaguars. Call them today, 777-4300, and check out their tremendous savings on a brand new AC system.
Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, presented by FIS, is home all weekend at 121 Financial Ballpark. It's Coors Light Thirsty Thursday tonight, and then Red Shirt Friday and fireworks tomorrow. The first 2,000 fans Saturday get a free water bottle with more fireworks presented by Wolfson Children's Hospital. Then it's Baptist Health Sunday Family Fun Day. JackShrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. Affordable family fun.
It's the Sporting Jacks Soccer Hour. Join Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burley as they discuss the latest in the world of soccer, including Sporting Jacks bringing pro men's and women's soccer to Jacksonville. Mondays at 6 on 1010 a.m.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. You know, pool design has come a long way, and if your pool is outdated, Stanley Pools specializes in bringing older pools up to date for the whole family to enjoy. That's why I did it a few years ago, and man, I love the way my pool looks now after we added travertine pavers and so much else. Stanley Pools has been serving our community since 1988, so call them today at 269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey ham, melted cheddar and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to website CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com, and let them show you how the job is supposed to get done.
Nick in here for Bout 9 Associates, where you'll find Jacksonville's most esteemed eye doctors at each of their locations. After being selected for one of the most competitive ophthalmology fellowships in the world, Dr. Frank Bowden is frequently called upon for his expert opinion. He is currently one of the few cornea and external disease specialists in the area and the founder of Bout 9. Visit Bout 9 Associates today and experience the difference. Bout 9 Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Did Dylan just ask, let me know where you know this song from? Like, I don't know, classic rock radio for the last 40 years?
Nah, man. One of the Guardians movies, wasn't it?
Wayne's World,
right?
Yeah.
Was it in Wayne's World? I don't know. Pockets?
Guitar Hero 2. PS2. Come on, man.
Never in a million years. Never in a million years.
That's when the song came out.
Was this on one of the Guardians?
That song did not come out.
Sure.
No.
He said it's when it came out.
No, bro, this song is old as dirt, man. This is like on classic rock back in the 80s, I think. I think, although, to be officially classic, you have to be 20 years old. Now, just like, this 2004, classic rock.
This is classical to me.
Oh, this is definitely.
This is classical
this
to me,
is
yeah.
This is old enough to fit that. Guitar Hero 2, excuse us, Dylan. Like, you stumped us. Tony might have had a shot at that.
I know that song was also in that game. Yeah, but that's not what I recognize it from. No. I'm pretty sure it was in one of the Guardians movies.
May have been. I don't know. You going through the soundtrack right now?
I'm trying to see if I can find
Can't find it. In the meantime, why don't we go around the rest of the National Football League?
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach.
Running back Tariq Cohen has informed the New York Jets that he is retiring from the NFL. It's been a rough 4 or 5 years for Tariq after the injury started and everything. He wrote that story about it a couple years ago in his personal life, having to deal with all that. Well, now he's officially going to hang up the cleats and retire from the National Football League. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and offensive tackle Tristan Wirfs have agreed to a 5-year, $140 million extension. Washington has claimed kicker Riley Patterson off waivers after his release earlier this week by the Jaguars. New England and defensive tackle Devon Gottschall have agreed to a 2-year, $21 million extension with $16.5 million guaranteed. New Orleans wide receiver Chris Olave was back at practice on Wednesday after a hard fall on his hip the day before that left some questions about how injured he might have been. Not injured enough to even be out of practice the next day. Baltimore linebacker Malik Ham has been placed on IR after suffering a torn ACL earlier this week in practice. Denver head coach Sean Payton said after practice that offensive tackle Quinn Bailey is believed to have suffered a broken ankle after being carted off wearing an air cast yesterday. Los Angeles Rams guard Jonah Jackson will miss the entire preseason with a bruised left scapula, but does reportedly have a chance to play in the regular season opener for the Rams. Kansas City wide receiver Kadarius Toney is dealing with an ankle injury. Chiefs wide receiver Marquise Brown returned to practice after missing a few days because of an illness. Minnesota tight end Robert Tonyan was carted off the practice field yesterday. Tonight at 8, the preseason kicks off from Canton, Ohio, where the Houston Texans and Chicago Bears will play at 8 p.m. on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus in the Hall of Fame game.
The continuing legend of Tyson Bagent, Tony Smith. If you're in a deep Superflex league, you might want to handcuff Caleb Williams. By the way, Rolling Stone ranked Crazy on You the number 9 song out of the 42 songs that are on the 3 volumes of Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mixtapes. So there you go. Made the top 10. It was in number 3 from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, apparently. Mr. Blue Sky from ELO. I Want You Back by Michael Jackson, giving you the top 5. The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. That's what got my son into Fleetwood Mac, which, good job, son. Surrender by Cheap Trick and Flashlight by Parliament, ranked by Rolling Stone magazine.
This is all a foreign language.
Don't know if any of them are on any of the Guitar Hero ones, other than Heart, which apparently featured pretty prominently. All right, Ship, let's talk backup quarterback first.
Let's do it.
I've been, if we didn't have this $250 million guy over here, I've been impressed with what I've seen from Mac Jones. I think he's thrown the ball really well in training camp.
Yeah, no, he started out slow with the rest of the offense, so you can't even say it's just him when, the other quarterbacks are doing it as well. He definitely started to pick it up, a little bit, before pads come on. I think he's done a good deep ball. He's connected with Denzel Mims a few times. He's had a few big plays to undrafted free agent receiver Joseph Skates. The only, I think, real negative that he's had is there's sometimes he opts not to push the ball deep. Sometimes where it's clear he's taking the check down as opposed to, taking a shot downfield. And part of that, I think, is just maybe that's what's been hammered into him, especially in New England. Part of it, I think, obviously coming into a new system and, you're the backup, maybe you're not trying to take as many chances. I thought the last few days he definitely, turned it up some. And nothing, has said to me that he's not going to be the backup. Him and CJ Beathard get pretty equal reps in terms of how much they actually get to go in there. But I think Mac is, locked into that position.
Clearly Trevor Lawrence can fit it in the tightest window, right? Yeah. But Mac Jones oodles more arm strength than CJ Beathard from my eyeball perspective. CJ really needs to put it on there if he wants to throw a rope for 35 yards. And practice squad for CJ Beathard, most likely.
That's what I think, because in my opinion, you say you waive Mac Jones, I'd imagine somebody is going to, pick him up on waivers. There's no real reason, not to. Most teams weren't going to trade for him, but picking him up on waivers is completely different. CJ Beathard, I think you put him on waivers, you probably get him back on the practice squad. And if you don't, I don't think you're losing, any sleep over CJ Beathard potentially not coming back. Obviously, He's been a big help to Trevor Lawrence on and off the field. He's seen as like basically his sounding board, in the quarterback room. But it definitely, I don't think they would have traded for Mac if there wasn't any intention of this guy's going to be the backup.
He can still be that on the practice squad.
Yeah, well, he's the classic example of a guy that when he has to play for you, you're fine.
Yeah.
So putting him on the practice squad would make sense. And if some other team has an injury at quarterback or two and says, look, we don't have many options here, let's at least get a guy that we feel like can play, for the next 3 weeks. CJ would seem to fit that bill to me. So even if that was the way that he wound up leaving Jacksonville, it's like, all right. It's not that big a deal if that's how that works out. And you pick up another guy and you add him to the practice squad, and it's like, all right, well, try to develop him. Now it still leaves a very open question about what the plan is behind Trevor Lawrence beyond 2024.
I think they're going to draft another quarterback.
They're going to have to do something at some point. Both those guys are in
maybe
their
you bring
last
back
season.
Mac Jones, too. You never know. I don't know what his prospects are going to be, particularly if Trevor stays healthy. Mac Jones never sees the field this year. I don't know what the market would be for him.
To give you the idea of where some people's panic level was at earlier in the week, I did a mailbag after the third or fourth practice.
Here we go.
And one of the questions was, considering Trevor's performance at camp, any quarterbacks you think we should keep our eye on in college?
Come on now. I mean, for better or worse, they're pot committed. He's their guy for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's going. And, obviously, it would have to be historically catastrophic.
It was somebody replied to me on Twitter saying, after his early struggles, it was of course ridiculous because it's training camp, but they were saying, this is why you should have waited a year to pay him next year. And I'm like, well, they were going to pay him either way. So you can pay him now or pay him $60 million next year, like Brock Purdy's
pay him more.
So if you don't like him, why would you want to pay him more?
And speaking of Purdy, I mean, he came out and he's because he's getting picked off in practice a little bit too, and he's a guy with a great reputation for protecting the ball. He's like, look, I'm trying to fool my guys here and see if I can get away with this. If I come backside, can I get this pass into so-and-so? And now's the time to figure that out.
Exactly.
I can't do that in week 1. I can't do that in week 2. I got to protect the football. So I got to find out now what shots I can get away with.
And Purdy's a great example for the point I made earlier with scheming for your defense. He looks fantastic in the regular season because Kyle Shanahan is one of the best play callers and schemers in the NFL. He puts a bullseye on the worst coverage guy every single week. Can't really do that in training camp. You can't really protect a guy like that.
All right, worst position group, we'll pause because we got to take our final timeout right here, and we'll talk about that. Where do the Jags need some help, some reinforcements potentially through the eyes of John Shipley? Still time for you to get in with a question or two as we've poured through a bunch of them that have come in this morning. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today. You're at the home of the Jaguars in the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to bring your friends out and enjoy our spectacular golf course, which is carved out of some of the highest elevations in North Florida. Hidden Hills Golf Club, unlike any other. Check us out, hiddenhillsgc.com.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
Certainly facing challenging economic times. I can't speak for all of us, but for me, comforting to know my money is in good hands with ITP Partners. Ticket here for ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. I'll admit it, I don't understand a ton about the economy. Higher interest rates, 401ks, but I do know as I move closer to retirement, I continue to watch my money grow. Thanks to Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, and Reed Wingate. Get in the game, guys. ITP Partners, always there to help. For more info, Chris at ITPPartners.com or call 904-312-9751.
You're locked in to Jaguars Today Thursday with
Cannons of Jacksonville.
The best game day parking in all of Duval is at Tailgaters Parking. Are you ready for some football? Tailgaters is just steps away on the east side of the stadium. Visit tailgatorsparking.com and secure your season parking pass today.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com, and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's The Mangler. Go Team WM, and as always, Duval!
We will be perfect.
Training camp.
You drop a pass, you run a mile.
Nobody covers camp like 1010XL. Get daily training camp coverage brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing and Kingfish Pest Control.
Perfection
on 1010XL.
Your cooling system isn't working. Maybe somebody showed up with a portable electronic device. Then they discussed with you what your options are. Maybe they gave you an estimate that seems like an awful lot of money. What's the smart thing to do? When the situation merits a second opinion, get a Mike Merritt opinion. Yes, the Mike Merritt Comfort Team shows up with hand tools. We've never been able to fix an air conditioning problem with a tablet. Mike Merritt has been the trusted name for more than 30 years because there's never any hocus pocus. The Merritt team will walk you through the diagnostic steps up close and personal and show you exactly what you need. And the Mike Merritt price is likely to be far less because there's never an overtime charge, and the Merritt team doesn't work on commission. So remember, when it comes to the health of your cooling system, a second opinion can only help, and a Mike Merritt opinion can save you money. Florida license CACO 50384.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheap or discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
Brackish Vodka, the official vodka of UNF Athletics, 100% made in Jacksonville, is available at all local liquor stores. Visit Browdy's, Total Wine, ABC, Shores, Golden, Sahara's, Golden Ox, and more. Drink our gluten-free San Francisco Spirit award-winning vodka and see why it's the smoothest vodka you can buy. When you drink Brackish Vodka, you support all of our local employees and all the money stays in Jacksonville. Drink Brackish Vodka and live life slightly salty. Proud partner of the Jaguars.
Raid wants to know, what would you do if you could confidently face every day knowing you and your loved ones are protected? Would you sing along to your favorite song at the top of your lungs? Turn off the GPS and let your heart do the guiding. Go to the drive-thru and order one of everything. Feel the buzz of confidence of knowing you are protected with 65 years of insect science in your hands. Raid. Protection for everyone.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Multi-unit hair grafting is now available at IHRS and can give you 3 times more hair in one procedure over a traditional hair transplant.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
You can grow your hair back with this exclusive new procedure. Call for a free evaluation. Call IHRS 904-777-IHRS 777-IHRS 777-4477.
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjax.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
This is Dr. Steve Crenshaw, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Defensive star and Jaguars sack leader, linebacker Josh Hines-Allen is a main attraction to watch at training camp. Hines-Allen spoke with 1010XL's Hayes Carline on the matchup between him and running back Robinson in camp.
it works both ways, man. We compete every day. One day he'll give me next play, I'll get him. You know what I mean? So at that moment, I just, worked my technique and again had that little power behind me. But again, what did he do? What did he do wrong in his technique that made me do that? So it's about correcting and moving forward. There's areas where I can improve on that rush as well, staying up. But overall, I think it was a good learning rep from both of us, and can't wait to do it again.
I'm Molly McDonald with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars today on 1010XL.
All right, good point on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosure. That was Barracuda, not Crazy on You. Barracuda's been featured in several Marvel movies, but Crazy on You was the one from Guardians there. Also, someone who basically this all they text about is bring back Minshew. Hey, Gardner, why don't you worry about beating out Aiden O'Connell, okay, before you worry about anything else. And, they're like, meanwhile, Minshew is dropping dimes. Really?
They watched him play the Jaguars last year, right?
I mean, look, I had a Raiders reporter on last week on Sirius XM, and he's like, Aiden O'Connell's the guy.
Was it Hondo?
It was Hondo.
It was Hondo.
He loves him some Aiden O'Connell now.
I knew it. I love
Hondo loves, Hondo Carpenter loves Aiden O'Connell.
Good guy.
Big time. Also loves some Zamir White, as do I. All right, let's get to a couple of things here. You put it this way, you can put it as the weakest position group. Where would you like, if their Jags were going to go out and get some reinforcement, where would they need it the most? Where would it fit the best?
See, when I think about weakest room or room where I'd say they should have the most concerns, I'd probably still say offensive line, just because, again, only made the one change, didn't really change the overall depth that much. You're banking on health from a unit that, one, wasn't healthy and, two, wasn't very good last year, but they've kind of made their bed there. There's no offensive lineman that they can go out there and get right now who's going to, step into the lineup. Like, they've committed financially or through draft picks at all five of their starters. So they've kind of made their bed there. I think I would have said cornerback a couple of weeks ago, but guys like Christian Braswell have really impressed. Jarian Jones, DeAndre Prince. Oh, man, that's tough. Maybe off-ball linebacker, add to the depth behind Devin Lloyd, Fourier. There's a competition going on at Sam linebacker between Chad Muma and Ventrell Miller, but you got a lot of questions behind those guys. Fourier has been like an Iron Man for them, and we've never really seen, in this Doug Peterson regime, what does the defense look like without Fourier. Right now, they don't seemingly have many options behind him.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see the Sam linebacker on the field a whole lot in this defense. There's been the talk that, Devin Lloyd's now your middle and Foye is the weak side guy. If they're running with two linebackers, will it really matter that much?
No, I think the reactions to Devin Lloyd being moved to the middle have probably been fairly, overblown. I still believe that Fourier is going to be the one communicating for the defense. They're just going to be, playing different gaps and different roles. And, like you said, I don't expect Sam linebacker to be that extensive of a role either. You'll see it now and then, but shockingly, for the third year in a row, Devin Lloyd was not moved to pass rusher, despite many a protest for it.
Many amateur scouts.
It's the defensive Tank Bigsby thing, right? Like every offseason, we're getting this will be the year they finally unlock the potential of Devin Lloyd as a pass rusher. Well, Foyer's the one they unlocked as a blitzing linebacker last year, which may explain why they're talking about everything the way they are through to this point in Jaguars training camp. Devin Lloyd's a middle linebacker. Foyer's playing weak side when we get into those four. It does feel like they're trying to tell you, if we're going to blitz one of these guys, the guy we're going to do that with is Foyer.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel thankfully vindicated from Devin Lloyd saying he's put on 15 or something, pounds. I thought throughout the offseason, wow, this guy looks totally different. And he does. And, he said he did it to, stay healthy throughout the season, to adjust to his new position. Definitely seems like there's going to be more playing downhill for Devin Lloyd this year than there has been in the past, and it seems like this is a scheme that Devin Lloyd's going to have some success in. It's this one, so it's time to pee or get off the pot. It seems like
Eric Armstead Any concern that he's not fully participating at this stage or not?
It's interesting because Doug Peterson had said during the spring that, he'll be ready, for camp. It does seem more like this is just, them being overly precautious, them saying, this is a guy with a ton of games under his belt. He's an older player. We don't need to see anything from him right now, and he's one of our more important players. I think you have to see him at some point, before camp closes. But, from what I see out there, him working to the side, it doesn't seem like he's that far off or anything. So I really think it's just them being extra precautious with a player who, he's played enough games, enough reps that they maybe don't really need to see it from him right now.
How much do you think, or how do you expect them to split up the reps along those guys on the interior this year? Armstead obviously being the guy they want to have out there as much as they can, so he'll be featured more than any of these other guys. But with the options they have, we talked about Mason Smith earlier in the show. Devon Hamilton, they were talking about in the offseason. He's been really good through the early part of camp. Roy Robertson Harris, Jordan Jefferson, who they added, Adam Gott. Just how do you expect them to use all the options they have on that defensive interior?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to see Devon Hamilton as the starting nose tackle. Jordan Jefferson getting some work behind him, same with Jeremiah Ledbetter. And then, that 3 technique position, I think you're going to see some Adam Gottstis, some Tyler Lacey, obviously Roy Robertson Harris. I think Roy Robertson Harris probably, rotates with Eric Armstead, comes in nickel situations. I, ultimately think that it's going to be a healthy rotation. I think everybody's going to play, at least a little bit. Like you said, I think Eric Armstead is going to be, kind of the straw that stirs the drink and is really making everything go. But I think across from him, especially in pass rushing situations, you're going to see them deploy a decent rotation of bodies because, that seems like one of their deeper rooms right now.
John Shipley here with us for a few more minutes as we wrap up today's edition of Jaguars Today. There's been a lot of emphasis on the newness on the defensive side with Ryan Nielsen and how everybody is acclimating to that seemingly quickly, and they've had their good days in practice and all that. So let's go to the other side. And what do you think will be the identity of this Jaguars offense this year?
I mean, I think the identity has to go through, Trevor Lawrence. I think you look back to the 2022 identity, and it was, one of multiplicity. It seemed like they could come out, and depending on the defense that they were facing that week, they could change the complexion of their defense. Sometimes they'd be heavy play action. Sometimes they'd spread the ball out. I think you're going to see that again this year. But I really think the identity is, going to be on Trevor Lawrence, on them kind of unlocking Trevor Lawrence a little bit, whether that's more play action, more pushing the ball downfield. He's driving the offense, so I think it's really going to center around him in the passing game.
Well, if you're going to have successful play action, it would help to have a successful running game, right? Now, again, it's a great mystery. We don't know. And I think it's fair to say the biggest question mark is the offensive line. I'm not ready to say it's a weakness necessarily, right? Because I think if they stay healthy, and that's a big if, but you could say that about most offensive lines around the league, that there's not oodles of quality depth just waiting to break through. I don't know. We'll get a better sense when they go up against the Bucs in a few weeks with the joint practices, but I really don't know until we get to the regular season if we're really going to know what that unit has.
No, I agree with you completely. And personally, me, a lot of that being the biggest question mark, potential concern, a lot of that's coming off the heels of last year, of how we saw them, perform when healthy. Because even when they did have, some of their guys in, Cam Robinson, struggled a lot in terms of run blocking. I think he has one of the worst blown block rate, in terms of run blocking among all offensive tackles last year. Anton, for as great as he was in pass pro against so many veterans and star pass rushers, he obviously has a long way to go, in run blocking. So I think a lot of it is still, in my mind, okay, I've seen what they were last year. I need to see something different to move me off that impression of them.
I know, look, Trevor being what they're going to build everything around makes sense. They just paid him. He's been the guy they've been building around now for a few years anyway. But now the contract extension is done. Are they building what you would prefer for them to build if you had the choice, when whatever they're going to be building is going to be around Trevor Lawrence? Are they building something that plays to the strengths that you see in Trevor's game?
I mean, I think this skill room definitely makes more sense as a match for Trevor Lawrence's skill set. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, even dating back to Clemson, he excels pushing the ball downfield to guys who can, really go up and get it, make contested catches deep downfield. He's an aggressive quarterback. He hasn't really had that kind of receiver in Jacksonville. He threw the DJ Chark for, a handful of games maybe. Laquan Treadwell hasn't I don't believe hasn't played another down for a team. He's been in a couple camps since then, caught like 300, 400 yards with the Jaguars. So you can obviously see he prefers that type of player. 2022, the guys they brought in, obviously it worked out because they went to the playoffs. Trevor had a good year. But when I think of receivers that fit with Trevor Lawrence, I don't think of the Zay Joneses and, the Christian Kirks. I think of bigger guys. Even last year, Calvin Ridley is more of a guy who wins with route running, suddenness as opposed to just being a physical threat downfield. So I think guys like Gabe Davis, guys like Brian Thomas make more sense for Trevor than most of the other receivers that they've had in the past. But they do have to execute and they do have to make it work, because I'm pretty sure you can find me on record saying DJ Chark was a perfect fit for Trevor Lawrence. And obviously injuries happened, but even before the injuries, it didn't seem like they were ever on the same page.
DJ Chark still running ahead of Quentin Johnston out there in L.A., who is struggling mightily.
I was going to say, anybody concerned about Brian Thomas, which I don't think you should be, look at Quentin Johnston.
Oh, my God. The guy can't catch a football.
That's when you get concerned.
Yeah, I feel like catching is a pretty important element to being a receiver in the National Football League. And, man, you got to wonder, is it just all in his head right now? And yet still you hear Harbaugh talking about, this guy's going to be huge for us. Like this guy, Harbaugh will talk up anybody.
Well, Harbaugh said he's still got scars from them playing Michigan in the bowl game.
I'm sure he does.
What relevance?
That was then, buddy. This is now.
I saw a video out at Kansas City practice yesterday where they were running press man against Xavier Worthy, and he got passed between two defenders in the air. Basically, it's wild how small he is.
He weighs 165,
right.
and it's not like he's 5'7", man.
No.
He's a skinny guy, but hopefully our guy, our first round pick here in Jacksonville, Brian Thomas Jr., will fulfill all the goals that they had for him, ultimately becoming Trevor Lawrence's number one option, although probably not immediately. All right, Dylan, let's put a bow on it.
Now, the Cool Down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
All right, let's cool down with this question for John Shipley. Ship, you know how you felt about this team coming off a playoff appearance, division title last year in training camp. How does this roster, granted, it's only a week into camp, but you've seen the mini camps, the OTAs. How do you feel about this roster right now compared to where they were a year ago?
I think it's a better roster. I think they're deeper in a couple spots, specifically, on the defense, whether it's in the secondary, defensive line. I think I'm probably impacted a bit by seeing the Ryan Nielsen effect, and I think that's made, maybe it's gotten a bit more out of some players. I think that's probably made it better. Offensively, it's more or less, I think, the same cast that we've seen in most spots outside of, two receiver spots. And like I said, I think those receivers fit Trevor Lawrence well. They just have to go out and execute it. So I think it's when Trevor says, he said, I think 3 or 4 different times this offseason that he thinks this is the best team that they've had since he's been here. Talent-wise, I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah, well, let's hope they stay healthy, particularly guys like Mitch Morse, who can make a big difference on this squad. Ship, run it through again. Where can folks catch you right now with your Jaguars coverage?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter. It's @_John_Shipley. SI.com/Jaguars/NFL. Jaguars on SI. Basically, just look Jaguars and SI up together. After 5 years and about 5 or 6 different site names, just going ahead and putting SI in it works perfectly.
It'll all come up eventually.
It does.
We know we'll find you. You just go to John's Twitter X profile. Use that as a good jumping off point for a lot of his coverage out there. Back at it again tomorrow.
I'm getting out there.
Vehicle willing.
I'm getting out. I'm getting out there one way or another. I don't care if it's ready or not. I will be out there tomorrow.
If you need a ride, hit me up. All right. You might have to find your way home, but I'll swing by and pick you up on the way in tomorrow. But Ship, great to have you in studio, and hopefully you get some more of these opportunities. But thanks for the time today.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it as always.
All right. We love having you in. There he goes, John Shipley out the door. That'll do it for us today. Tom McManus will be back in studio with us tomorrow as the Jags are back on the practice field, and we'll bring you some of that audio that we didn't get to today. A lot of great interviews being done by the 1010XL crew. You can find that in all the different platforms out there, YouTube, on demand, wherever you get your 1010XL content. And, of course, you'll hear it right here throughout the course of the day on the radio as well. For Tony Smith, John Shipley, and Dylan Denmark, I'm Mike Dempsey. Thanks for tuning in to Jaguars Today here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars